Hi everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining me for another video. So if you are a regular viewer to my channel, then you will know that I don't usually come back as quickly as this after my last video. So something has obviously happened, and that is that I have an FFO and 2 finishes and a possible could be finished but may want to do a little bit more on it, but then again may leave it as it is type project. So I have knitting, crocheting and cross stitching to share with you today. And I'm going to start off with the knitting. So last time round I was working on some socks. You can check that video, check my last video to get all the information as to that. But I was working on some socks using some Lay Family yarn called Sweet Pea Sabotage, and I had done just the leg of the socks, and now I have a finish. So this is what my socks look like now. So I'm really pleased. It did take me a little while to do these. Usually I can whip up a pair of socks quite quickly in a few days, but I have been working on other projects, and so these socks took a little bit longer than they normally would. So anyway, so I have the Sweet Pea Sabotage colourway here, which is the Lay Family yarns, and then I have Dances with Rainbows by Pixie yarn on the heel and the toes. I managed to do it in a vanilla, well, not vanilla, stocking stitch. I finished the foot off in stocking stitch because it was a lot easier to just knit the rest, and I thought that if I continued to do the rest of the foot in the pattern, I would use up a little bit more yarn and I wouldn't be able to complete the sock. I would have quite a small sock. So I decided to just do the foot in stocking stitch, and then I put the heel in and then added the toe. So I've done 7 rows of the Dances with Rainbow colourway here before I've started the decreases for the toe, and I do a rounded toe, and then I do the Kitchener stitch to bind it off and seal the toe at the top, and the same for the heel. What can I tell you about these? One thing I noticed, I use 64 stitches for my socks, and what I noticed with these is with this pattern, with the jute stitch pattern here, it is tighter. It's made it quite tight around the leg. So I think that if I'm going to do this pattern again, I would probably do 68 stitches. So I'll probably cast on 68 stitches so that I could account for the fact that this pattern makes everything a lot tighter fitting wise. And also for the heel, what I did was I didn't do the waste yarn method. So what I did was I stopped here, and then what did I do? No, I did use the waste yarn. Yeah, I used the waste yarn method instead of doing my normal method, which is to just cut into the sock. So what I noticed with that was that I used the waste yarn after I'd done the leg. I stitched using waste yarn and then continued in this colour for a few rows, and then I decided to cut in the heel, and I did that because of the fact that I did that and I had to remove the waste yarn. Instead of removing less than the 32 stitches, I actually removed the whole 32 stitches and tried to pick up 32. Ended up having to pick up more than 32 stitches to try and close the gaps, and it's a lot more gappy than I would like it. I'm not sure if you can see the gapping there in the sock. I like these bits to be quite tight and neat, but here you can see it's a little bit more gapy here than I would like it to be. So I think I will just revert to doing, next time I do the afterthought heel socks, I will just revert to doing stitching the sock down to the end of that colour and then just cutting into the yarn rather than using the waste yarn method, because I'm more familiar with that, more comfortable with that, and I know what to do to make sure I don't get the holes around these bits. Yeah, so I'm not overly pleased with the way that the heel turned out. However, the sock is done and it looks okay. It's a decent, it's going to be a size 6 I'd say, and I'm good with that. The other thing was, because of the pattern, if you can see here, you can see where the joins are, where the end of the round is for each sock. So I had to make a conscious decision where I was going to cut in the heel, so that my seams, I guess, is the easy way to describe it, the end of the rounds face each other, so they're not on the outer side of the sock, if you see what I mean. So I had to pay attention to that, so those are on the inside. But yeah, I'm pleased with how the socks turned out. I would do the heel differently. I will use the waist yarn method next time because I prefer that and it looks a lot neater, less holes. And yeah, if I'm going to do the jute stitch pattern again, I will make sure I use more stitches. I cast on more stitches to account for how tight it is up here. It's tighter fitting. But yeah, that is the sock. Those are the socks. I'm really pleased with how they turned out, and that is the end of that. Did I show this is the Pixie yarn label for the toe and the heel, and that's Dances with Rainbows. So yeah, that is all the knitting I've done, really. Do you like my mug? I got this for my birthday. Don't know if you can see it. Knitting keeps me from unravelling. I got that as a birthday present. Very apt. So pretty pleased with that. Right, so I have a little bit of crochet, and so I'll show you that. So I had started off this blanket a while ago, and I was using blues and greys. This was the theme. I think I showed it on a video, but I hadn't quite decided. I think I was using up the yarn that I had. Basically I was using up grey and blue yarns, and I started off with an Aran weight yarn, and I have since moved on to double knit yarn. So I've gone to Stylecraft yarns for what was left, because I was just using up scraps initially, but to finish this off, I've been using Stylecraft yarns. Anyway, this is quite big. So I started off as a blanket, and I've done, let's see, I have done these squares here, this type, which is Tangerine Dream, and it's from the Square a Day book by Tracey Lord. This is what this book looks like. It's from this book. It's called Tangerine Dream, but I am just using one colour. It's usually done in, the Tangerine Dream is actually done in 2 colours. I've just used one colour. That's what it looks like. And so that's one type of square. Then I have also done granny squares. This is a granny square, just alternating colours as I feel fit. And I've done the basket stitch here, and I have done some random thing here where I started off with a little granny square in the middle, and then I've just gone done treble crochets around the outside, just to bring it up to the size that I wanted, and alternated the colours. So those are the basic 2 designs I've done. Oh, and I've done one here actually. This is another different one. Don't know what I did here. Just a bunch of treble crochet. Started off as a circle and then increased to make it into a square shape. It's a bit dodgy, not quite as straight as it should be, but it's doing the job. So basically, so I started this off as a blanket, and then I realised, oh, I actually have an old filing cabinet that I would like to disguise and make it look prettier, just hide it away. So I thought this would be, if I can turn this blanket into a kind of a cover, I can cover my filing cabinet and it just looks a lot prettier. So that's what I've done. So I created corners. I'm not sure you're going to be able to see it. I'll try and insert a picture. I did put a picture on my Instagram account showing you what it looks like actually on the filing cabinet, and I'll insert that picture here. So this is what the actual cover looks like at the moment. It's a bit long, but it's covering the way I want it to. So I've got the side panel here, just one square to keep it on at the side here. this is the top. You can see the sides, and then I've got that one panel at the back holding that on, but there's nothing on this edge holding that on, so I need one for the back here, I guess, and then maybe add a second one here to keep the top bit in place, and that's what I was trying to describe in the video. But that's how it looks. It's doing the job that I want it to do. It's not perfect, but it's doing what I want it to do, and I'm good with that because I can just lift up the front and access the cabinet, and I'm good to go. So yeah, that's it. So that is the crocheting. So for the cross stitching, I have a finished object. So the last time round I showed you the Emma Condon piece that I was working on. I'd finished it up and I was ready to just fully finish it, put it in a frame, and it's ready. Wanted to get it ready for gifting because it's going to be a Christmas present. So this is what I've done with it. So I framed it. Because it's an oatmeal coloured fabric, I thought a kind of a wood frame would look quite nice, and I had to ensure that it was big enough. There was a big enough frame so that there's space at the bottom and space at the top. You know, all around. I needed space all around it basically to ensure that it fits in a frame. So this is a 14 by 10 inch frame, and it's I bought the frame on Amazon. The colour is called walnut, although it's quite a pale colour. It looks more like a pine kind of colour to me, but anyway, so that's what it looks like. I actually did go back in and stitch that extra stitch in there because it did bug me a little bit. So I finished that off, and the way that I've got this in the frame is I've done the lacing. So I've laced it all at the back, and that's what my lacing looks like. I'm not sure how other people do their lacing, but what I noticed was that what I've been doing, I'll get a thread of maybe between 4 and 6 strands of thread, and I will start lacing it. I'll go through the top of the fabric here, and then up there, and then through the top of the fabric, and then back up and over. So I'm doing like an under over kind of lacing technique. And when I run out of, because I'm not using one great big long strand of thread to get all of this done, I have to keep adding on another section of thread, knotting it together, and then continuing, just to make it long enough to do all the lacing, if you understand what I mean. So there's lots of little knots here where I've added threads on, and I've just used basically leftover threads that I have from kits. So I tend to sometimes keep the leftover threads that I have from finished kits, and I will just bobinate those. And what I've done was I decided to use all like kind of neutral tone threads that I have that are kind of what's the word, leftovers for want of a better word, that are not branded. So they won't, most of them are not DMC, they're from Bothy Threads kits that I have been working on or have worked on in the past, and I've just used those leftover threads to do the lacing. So I've gone up and down that way, and then I've gone across just to make sure it's all nice and tight, and I'm really pleased with it. The only difficulty I had was this hook thing here, so I've had to cut a hole in the fabric just to get the hang a bit on. Not sure how other people deal with that, because I did try just putting it over the top of this, but then I thought, well, when I give it to the person it's intended for, they're going to struggle trying to get the hook to be able to hang it. So I thought it's probably best if I just cut the hole in the fabric so that they can see clearly where the hook is, and they will know how to hang it. So yeah, so that is what I've done, and I'm pleased with it. The only change I made was I added 2021 in the corner here, so that can you see it there, so that they would know what year it was done, and I would be able to look back and say, right, yep, I did that for them in 2021. So yeah, that is it. So that's my FFO. This is going to be my screenshot. So yeah, so that's my FFO. Then I have been so excited about this piece. I was determined to finish this up before Christmas, and I've shown it on Darren Dizzy Stitchers Facebook group, and it's the Dimensions Gold kit in the Lakeside Village design, and I have finished the stitching on this one. All I have now to do is the back stitching. So this is what it looked like last time round, and here we are today. Hopefully that will dissolve nicely. Let's see. There you go. So this is what it looks like now. So I finished off all of this section here that I was working on. I've actually done some of the back stitching. Hopefully you can see I've put in some of the back stitching here where the light is. I've done the bit on there, the shutters, I've added the shutters, some of the lines around the building. There's not a huge amount of back stitching on it, so it's just like the outline of the buildings and the shutters, so the fencing around here, that bit here, I think there's a bit up there to do, then there's the steps here, that bit. There's not a whole heap of back stitching, so I'm finding it manageable. I did do here, there's a rope attaching the boat to the poles, and what I noticed, I did it in back stitching on this one, and then when I got to this one I was like, oh, I just don't like the way that one looks, so I tried couching, and I think that the couching looks a lot better. If I bring it in closer, hopefully you can see the difference. So this one is done with back stitching. It's not great back stitching, but it's back stitching nonetheless. And this one is done with couching, and I think the couched one looks a lot more fluid and a lot tidier. I'm trying to decide whether to rip this out and use the couching method for this one or just leave it as is. It's only me that's going to really notice it when it's possibly in a frame or whatever I do with it. So yeah, so I've got just a tiny bit more back stitching to do, and then this piece is completely finished, and I just have to figure out what I'm going to do with it, if I'm going to display it, and how I'm going to display it. So I'm really pleased with this. And the other thing that kind of made me really feel chuffed was the person that actually gave it to me. She saw my post on Instagram, and she said she was quite pleased with the fact that I actually managed to finish it. So that was really nice. It was really nice. I was really pleased about that she was happy with the fact that I have actually done it, that she gave me something to work on out of the goodness of her heart, and I didn't just put it aside and leave it. I've actually worked hard on this, and I've now finished it, and it made me quite proud to feel that she was happy with the fact that I'd done that. So yeah, so I'm really pleased with it. So that is my major achievement over the last week or so, and I've posted pictures on, I think I posted it on my Instagram yesterday. So yeah, because I'm that pleased with it. I'm just amazed. It's not totally full coverage, because these bits up here are the fabric, so there's gaps here, but the rest of it is full coverage, and it is quite a tricky piece because of the fact that there are half stitches and cross stitches, full cross stitches. There are 3 strands, 2 strands, 4 strands, 5 strands. And there are blended threads, so it's a lot of methods and things for me to learn during this project, and so it kind of makes me feel like if I can do this, then I can do any other project that comes my way. I think I'm brave enough to feel like I can do the other stuff that looks really scary to me. I was actually considering doing another Dimensions kit. I was considering doing another Dimensions Gold kit, but I haven't come across a design that I actually really like the look of, so, and one that doesn't have so much back stitching, because that's the thing, I don't like the back stitching. So yeah, so that is that one. The last thing I have been working on is the stocking. So I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos lately, and listening to YouTube videos while I stitch, and I think possibly because a lot of people are doing their Christmas stitches, it's kind of made me think, right, I actually want to get back onto the stitching, the stocking that I've been working on, that I started on. I hadn't intended to try and get it completed by Christmas because I didn't want to put that pressure on myself. This is the design I'm talking about, centre sidecar stocking. That's the design. So I didn't want to put the pressure on myself to get this finished in time for Christmas. So I just felt like, well, you know what? If I get to work on it, then fine. If I finish it, great. If I don't finish it, not a big deal. But over the last week or so, I've been working on this and I've been enjoying it more than I thought I would. I think possibly because I think what it is, when I started this piece, let me show you, I'll insert a picture of what it looked like last time I showed it on here, and this is what it's looking like now. So when I started this, I did all of this section here up to here, and then I started doing the back stitching, and I felt like, yes, at least I've done half of it, that's an accomplishment. But then I thought, right, what I want to do is at least finish the top half of the stocking. So I went up here and started stitching this bit. And these are two different colours of thread. So you've got two different reds in there, and there's no kind of uniformity to the way the colours are put in there. So I was having to closely follow the chart to make sure that the colours were correctly placed. And that kind of set me back a bit and made me think, I'm not enjoying it. I didn't enjoy stitching this bit. And that's because I kept going, I had to concentrate too hard on the colour placement, and to me there was like, this could have been a lot easier. It could have just been in squares, so you'd know, right, that's a dark red square, that's a light red square, that's a dark red. It would have been a little bit more, to me, a common sense way of doing it, and in stitching it, it would have made it a little bit easier, because it wouldn't be so taxing. I wouldn't have to keep thinking about the placement. I would just go, right, well, that's the normal sequence is this. Hopefully you understand what I mean. So I didn't enjoy stitching this bit at all, and then what happened, I got to here to put in the name, and then I realised that I was supposed to have, according to what I read, and I'm sure I've read it right, I was supposed to have stitched the name before filling in these colours, filling in the red. So I've had to now go back, because I thought you'd do the red first, stitch the name on top, but from the way I've read the chart, my understanding now is that I was supposed to have left space for the white in amongst the red, so that I could have just stitched the name in. So yeah, so anyway, so I've done it over the top, and I've had to do it in, I think I used more than 2 strands. I think I used 3 or 4 strands just to get the lettering to stand out a bit better for the name. So yeah, so that's what's happened there. And then, so since the last video, I've been working on all of this, and I've decided, my plan was to just stitch this bit, stitch downwards right to the bottom and complete that side. What I want to do is complete the Santa and then move across and complete the reindeer. So that's the plan, and I'm actually enjoying this. I'm enjoying this. I love the colours. What I find, I'm learning that I love working on colourful projects, and the fact that I'm using like these bright colours, it really makes it an enjoyable stitch for me. So yeah, I've got to go back and do the back stitching for him. So what I might do is try and complete the Santa and then do all of his back stitching before I move on to the reindeer. But that's where I'm at with this, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm finding it a good stitch. Not sure if I'm going to get it done in time for Christmas, because it took me a long time to just do this. I think I did his beard, and just up to about here took me a day. It took me a good few hours in a day to do that. And this, it's a 14 count fabric, so it's quicker than doing it on a smaller count fabric, and it's all stitched 2/1, so that's good, and there don't seem to be any blended threads, so again that makes it easier, but it does take a little bit of time, so especially when you've got a little budgie like ours who likes to get at my needles. So yeah, so that is that. So that's where I'm at with this one, and that is the last of the cross stitching. That's everything I've been working on. I hope you've enjoyed seeing what I've been working on and hearing my experiences with those projects. But yeah, that is it. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I will see you, probably be after Christmas now. Yeah, so do take care. Until then, see you next time. Bye for now.